Non-duality basically means not two. It means just one. Everything is one. Nothing can be divided. Nothing can be separated into 2, 5, 10 millions. Just everything is one. And when we see something that appears to be separate, then that's pretty much what it is. It's this appearance, which is not real. And so today I want to give you some simple definition to really understand it, what it means, non-duality, because it's just at the core of everything, at the core of my channel. And I remember before I had my non-dual awareness, I studied, spirituality for many years, for 20 years, and self-development. And now and then I would come across books about non-duality. And I would think, oh my God, they were just so heady. There were no pictures, just big texts with some philosophical ideas, theories, some gurus and intellectual men were having conversations, and I just could not relate. And when I really experienced it for myself, I was just so blown away. And I've experienced it in so many different situations, and now that's all I see, as well as duality. It's kind of just like both at the same time. And so for people who've never experienced non-duality, I want to create this explanation for you. Maybe you've had some glimpses, perhaps people who've done some psychedelics or through some mystical experiences. But today, really, I want to give you something that you can really look at yourself. I don't want to give you another belief. You already have so many beliefs. I'm not here to give you another one. And really don't believe me anything. What I'm saying here, you probably already think that this is all crazy anyway. But I'm going to give you something to really look. Because when we look, we see everything through our minds. And the mind separates everything into two. And separates everything into opposites. But the underlying truth is always one. Without the mind, we can really see how things are. And so just to give you an example, for example, now we are in a forest in the woods. So imagine that you are in the woods and you see so many mushrooms there. Maybe you see 5, 10, hundreds of mushrooms. And so it appears that there is many hundred of mushrooms. But in reality, there is only one. It cannot be separated. There is just one. Underneath, if you digged into the earth, it's just one organism, but it gives appearance to many different ones. And so in the same way, this is how it works with everything what you can think of. All the appearances that have opposites are just that, appearances. They've been labeled by the mind. There is always underlying truth, reality to it, which is real and cannot be separated. It's just one. And actually it involves everything. It involves the appearances as well as the truth. It's just like nothing can be separated. And I'm going to give you an example. I was thinking giving you an example about black and white, but you know what? I'm just going to jump in and give you an example about something that's perhaps really hard to believe to begin with. But I think it's a really good example, a very important example to just examine for yourself. I'm going to give you an example about the past and the future and the now moment. How they only exist ever together in this now moment, and they cannot be separated from each other. So normally I would think of the past as something that happened sometimes before. For example, what did I have for breakfast? So to find out what I had for breakfast, I had to go into my imagination. I cannot find what I had for breakfast in this reality, in this place around me where I can touch and smell and see and like really check for me, and that it's persistently there even though I don't believe it. I have to go in my imagination. I call it imagination because it's made of images, whether those are memories, images, and sometimes they come with voices, these inaudible voices that we call thoughts. But it's a different world. It's just a different thing. And there needs to be the distinction, because most people, myself included, it's just we confuse these two all the time through everyday language. We confuse these two all the time. And in the same way, when I want to see what's going to happen in the future, I cannot find the future here in the now moment. I have to go into my imagination again, and I have to imagine myself in the future or something that will happen, but it lives in as an image or as a thought. It just lives in this invisible world. And because those two only live in the invisible world of imagination, then they cannot be separated from the now moment. Because when I think of the past or the future, I can only think about the past or about the future in the present moment. There is just the present moment and nothing else. This is the truth of it. And maybe a voice in your mind tells you, wait a minute, if past and the future is not real, then what about my life? What about my life story? And I'm not saying that you should just discard your life or your life story. You know, the story lives in the mind. It lives in the past and the future. And we should just honor the story. That's why we're here. That's why we want to experience stories. But it's just different. A story is different from reality, from the truth, because it lives in those two places. It's the appearance of everything. And you might also think that how come that there is those two things, the reality and the imagination? That's two, hey? And you're saying that everything is one. So how does this work? Well, as I see it, really, there is just one. There is just what is and what isn't. What is this reality, what you can touch and taste and smell. And what isn't is the imagination. It isn't because you cannot touch it, smell it, taste it. It's an image, it's a movie. It's comprised of invisible images, of invisible voices. You cannot really hear what someone said yesterday. You will hear it with this inaudible voice in your mind. So there is only what is and what isn't. And they come at the same time as one. They cannot be separated. So I see it as a 0 and 1. What is that one, that oneness, everythingness, universe, life, God, whatever you want to call it. It just cannot be, and it cannot be even separated from those thoughts. When you think you have some bad thoughts, it's also part of it. But those thoughts are the 0. It's simply nothing. It's just an image. And so 1 plus 0 is 1. Altogether, nothing can be separated, nothing can be divided. And this is very practical. This is at the base of my work, of my channel, non-duality, having this awareness. Because everything that everything that seems to be set in a way, the chances are that it isn't. And when I guide people, whether if it's for business or personal life, we always look at the person as being the source of what happens, because everything else is always reflected to you as something that you're not seeing about yourself. And once you see it, you can really integrate it, and you can come back to that wholeness, that oneness. And when you are in that oneness, that means that you're not dealing with those appearances, which drive you crazy. When you deal with the appearances, your mind goes crazy and it overthinks over and over, and thoughts coming, attacking thoughts. Once you get into the truth of what is actually real and what's happening, and sometimes it's so hard to believe that it really needs very strong guidance, but once you get to that space, then the problems just disappear. They cannot survive. That's when it comes to everything is love and gratitude and okay. You're always okay in that present moment. deceptive when you're believing and thinking on top of that. And we have so many beliefs about ourselves, about the world, how it should be, so much conditioning, so many beliefs about pretty much everything. The way we see things, we label, the mind labels things. We cannot even look at things the way it is without the mind labeling it, unless we really look at things the way they are. And it really requires deep and sustained looking. So beyond appearances, there's a world of beauty and love and gratitude and just enjoyment through any experiencing. There is a feeling of not needing to be anything different than it already is. And that's non-duality for me, being in the space of seeing through appearances and coming back to what is real, what is true. It's so beautiful.